Hello everyone, today is 24th of January, Friday, so I hope you'll have a wonderful day and a great upcoming weekend. Now it's about 10 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Later on at evening time I will publish second news update on my Patreon and Boosty pages with all the additional news that Russian media will report during the day, additional main news obviously. And if you are looking for more news from Russia, more commentary, or if you like my work and want to support this independent project from Russia, you're more than welcome to join our communities on Patreon or Boosty. Links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. That's been said, let's go through some news now, and I'll start with the breaking news for this moment, which is that formerly Kiev regime, in reality NATO, conducted the first large-scale long-range strike deep into Russian territory during the nighttime, early hours of this morning, first under Trump's presidency, under the new administration in US, and obviously such a strike could not be done without Trump being briefed on that, most likely. Pentagon and the CIA officials briefed US president that they are about to launch this strike deep into Russian territory, and Trump authorized this strike. I'm saying so because we already know for a while now that Kiev regime, and we knew it always, that Kiev regime on its own is unable to conduct such a long-range strikes with the Western missiles or the Western drones, right? Flight path for these weapon systems targeting data is provided by NATO member states, first of all, US, UK, and France, and Russian leadership, political and military leadership was very clear on that. So, yet again, Trump most likely, I'm 110% convinced that Trump authorized this strike, but most likely, let's say that way, he was briefed on that and he did not block this strike, which clearly indicates that all his talks about de-escalating anything is just lies, right? And he is all in for further escalation. He had enough time, by the way. He's a couple of days in office, and unfortunately he chose to communicate with Russia as if he's some sort of a gangster or something, right? It looks laughable. I tried yesterday to downgrade his attitude. I was trying to find some positives. I was saying, if you listen yesterday's my update, I said that probably he is acting this way for domestic purposes, but in reality, he wants to really de-escalate. Maybe I was considering that that's a possibility. And he was just acting tough as a damage control sort of, because everyone understands this conflict will end one day and it will end on Russian terms, right? And one may assume that yes, Trump's team is in sort of damage control now, and that's why they are acting tough. But in any case, this long-range strike deep into Russian territory clearly proves that, Trump is not about the escalation, by the way. He is all about escalation. Not surprisingly for me personally, but some members of our community and many people worldwide really believe that he will try to de-escalate, or he really wants to de-escalate. No, man. No one. One should always keep in mind that true decision makers in the Western world are in shadows, right? And if you had any doubts on that, well, take a look at the Biden's presidency. He was out of touch with reality all those years, right? But someone was clearly making decisions on his behalf. And very same groups of very influential forces in the West, in the US included, are now behind the Trump, right? Only difference is that Trump can recognize himself when he is looking in the mirror, and he can actually articulate more or less okay way his thoughts. That's the only difference really between Biden and Trump, right? Because Biden was clearly out of touch, but he was not there. And there are factual evidences, by the way. We now have factual evidences to say that, yes, Trump is all about further escalation, as I predicted. And this morning, for example, I published on my Telegram and Twitter that, this decision of Trump's executive order imposing 90-day moratorium on international aid does not affect their programs for providing military assistance to Ukraine. This was stated by the Pentagon to Voice of America. Military assistance to Ukraine is not subject to the restrictions of the recent executive order or the foreign aid, as it applies only to development programs, not military support, the U.S. Department of Defense reported. So yes, many people, by the way, were mistaken after they hear that this executive order was signed by Trump. Many people really believe that Kyiv regime will no longer receive any funds or military aid from the US, but this is not the case. They will continue to receive all their weapons and the money that Biden's administration promised. And most likely, it will not take long, just a couple of days, maybe a week or two, and Trump administration will start authorizing additional funds and additional military supplies to Kyiv regime. And their money and weapons flow will increase significantly, even compared to Biden's era, right? And to make sure that Kyiv regime has enough manpower to operate with these additional weapons, Washington further increasing pressure, Washington and the West in general, further increasing pressure on the Kyiv regime to start forcefully mobilizing younger generations from 18 to 25. And this morning, I also shared on my Telegram this information, by the way, that Ukraine is in the final stage of developing a plan to draft men aged 18 to 25 into military. This was reported by Associated Press, by the way, Western propaganda outlet, right? Citing deputy head of Ukrainian presidential office, Colonel Pavlo Palisa, so it's official. So Kyiv regime in relatively short time will start forcefully mobilizing young people from 18 to 25 so that they will have enough manpower to operate with these additional hundreds and probably thousands of military equipment, tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, and so on, that they will receive under the Trump's administration, right? So clearly we have quite enough indicators now, factual indicators on the ground to say that yes, Trump and his team is all in for next stage of escalation in this proxy war against Russia. And unfortunately, well, seems like my reading of the big picture was correct, and in a very short time, maybe a couple of days, couple of weeks maximum, and Moscow will clearly have no option but to finally said that enough is enough. And when that will happen, Russia will start retaliating for real, and not just on military or logistics infrastructure of the Kyiv regime on Kyiv controlled territory, but also on military and logistics infrastructure of NATO member states that are actively involved in this proxy war against Russia, military and logistics infrastructure that directly are participating in military hostilities against us. And I can even tell you what that might be, by the way, in my personal opinion. I mean, I'm quite sure once Russia will finally make decision that, you know what, we had enough of it, we give a new administration of the US opportunity to demonstrate not just make statements, but to demonstrate with the real steps on the ground that they wanted the escalation. We give them time, opportunity, but they did not took it, right? So therefore, and world has seen it. Entire world sees it, right? Entire world is observing what is going on, right? And understood that Trump is in all in for next phase of escalation. And therefore, mark my words, dear friends, or any other such long range strike deep into Russian territory with drones, missiles, or whatever can trigger Russian response. And as I already said, most likely, Russia will neutralize not just military and logistics infrastructure of the Kiev regime on Kiev controlled territory, but also military and logistics infrastructure of the US, UK, potentially France too, that are directly engaged in military hostilities against us. And as I said, by the way, I can give you approximate areas which might be targeted, for example. For sure, British military base in Cyprus, definitely a priority target, because there should be no British military bases in Cyprus. Why? Why there is British military base in Cyprus? I don't get it. So let's obliterate it. Just let's do it, right? So yes, maybe half an hour warning in advance so that military personnel can be evacuated, and that's about it. There will be no more British military bases on Cyprus. Also, US military bases in Poland, Romania. There are several bases that directly engaged in hostilities against Russia, against us. Those bases should be obliterated also, and will be obliterated most likely. And by the way, I believe US is providing flight path and targeting data for these long-range strikes deep into Russian territory from Bahrain, right? US has a headquarters in Bahrain and largest military bases there, naval and so on, including intelligence. And I believe those bases in Bahrain can be obliterated also. And there are plenty of other areas, by the way, plenty of other areas worldwide where Russia may take action against US, British, potentially French military assets. And it is time, by the way. It is time to act on all the acts of war that are US and UK and France committed against us. And every such a strike is an act of war, by the way. Right? So yes, just give it 3 to 5 weeks time maximum, and that's about it. Russia will pay back. Then these psychopaths in the West may try to, let's strike back now. They may do some strike on Russia, but Russian retaliation will be 10 times harsher. And at that point, Western ruling class will finally realize that they are no longer playing with the lives of other people. Their own lives are on line of fire. And that's exactly the time when they will order their puppets in US government, in government of UK, France, Germany, and the rest of their countries that are hostile towards Russia to start de-escalating, because Western ruling class definitely don't want to die. That's it. But meanwhile, this tough guy in the White House will continue to act as if he's some sort of a gangster, and he does it. That's exactly what he's doing. Yesterday he had a TV link with a video link with WEF, World Economic Forum, in Davos, a gathering of despicable, worst of the worst of humanity, let's say it this way. And during that video link, Trump said that he will pressure Saudi Arabia to cut significantly oil prices, and he will also pressure OPEC to do the same. And it seems like Western ruling elites, Western ruling class, is still, sort of a hostage of its own propaganda. As you know, Western elites love to say about Russia that Russia is just a gas station, cut oil prices and Russia is finished. This is their narrative that they are pushing for decades now, isn't it? While know nothing about Russia. And I can tell you, dear friends, that Russian economy, if Putin as a president did anything, first of all, he started working on diversifying Russian economy, right? One of the first strategical aims of his presidency was to diversify Russian economy, and he achieved quite significant success on this ladder, right? Because currently, you might be surprised, dear friends, if you are receiving information about Russian economy from Western propaganda, but currently, agricultural sector, by the way, surprisingly for some, almost creates similar, almost, not completely, but almost creates similar income for Russia than energy sector, right? Oil sector. Production, Russian economy is overheated, and you think why? Because all the factories, all their entities, industrial and otherwise, are working 24/7, right? And so even if, and by the way, nothing to be said about Russian golden and their currency reserves, which is over 500 billion, right? And since the beginning of special military operation, Russia didn't touch those reserves. Actually, opposite was happening. Russia was adding more and more funds there, right? And I would not be surprised at all if currently Russian golden and currency reserves are at all-time high. That's clearly a possibility, right? And if Russia cuts any energy exports whatsoever, not a drop of oil or oil products, not a drop of LNG, not even a cubic meter of natural gas to be exported, Russian economy will still not collapse. Russian economy will face some difficulties because energy sector clearly plays a significant role, but there is other sectors of the economy that will allow Russia to continue, right? Further developments. Nothing to be said yet again about reserves that Russia has. Golden and currency reserves, over 500 billion, which is quite significant, right? And there are some other reserves also, by the way. It's not just that. Nothing to be said about Russian friends that will stand with Russia. They already proved that they are next to Russia. China, India, Iran, by the way, other countries, right? Global South in general, many countries in Africa, by the way. So if Western ruling class think that they're gonna pressure Saudi Arabia or OPEC to drop oil prices, and that will force Russia to obey orders from the West, I mean, they are so mistaken. They are so mistaken. They are hostages of their own false narratives and their own false propaganda, because they are starting, they are believing in their own fake news, right? But when it comes to this particular topic of Saudi Arabia and OPEC, yes, West has enough leverage over the Saudi Arabia at least to force area to increase oil production for as much as possible. And Saudi Arabia definitely can increase its oil production for, let's say, a couple of millions of barrels a day, which will definitely destabilize energy market, which will create significant barriers in relationships between Saudi Arabia and some other countries, including inside the OPEC itself, because Saudi Arabia may sustain for a time being low prices on oil. But not all OPEC member states can do the same, and not everybody there will be happy to sell their oil instead of current $75-80 approximately for a barrel for $30 or something like that, right? So yes, Saudi Arabia can shortly start increasing oil production because of the US pressure or Western pressure. Some other OPEC member states also, but still I don't think they are capable of dropping oil prices to 20 or $30. I mean, I don't think so. I just don't think so, man. It's not happening, right? But anyways, we will find out. We will find out. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate yet again that Trump's administration is playing longer with this anti-Russian, anti-humanistic forces that are waging this proxy war against us. But well, they made the choice, right? They made the choice. They want to be our enemies, and well, okay then. What can I say? Okay, they will face consequences, by the way, shortly. All of them, and Trump is going to be humiliated. He may don't understand this, but he is going to be humiliated big time, and the Western ruling class in general is going down. TASS News Agency, meanwhile, is reporting that, well, even Wall Street Journal, by the way, even Western propaganda outlets, sometimes when they have a opportunity to publish something really independent or publish their own opinion or opinion of their staff, observers, experts, even they are forced to acknowledge that all these threats that US president is making against Russia don't really means much, don't really influence much. And the Wall Street Journal come up with an article that Russian progress on the ground in zone of special military operation makes Trump's threats towards Russia obsolete. And well, yes, I mean, yes. Even Western propaganda outlets are forced to, at least time to time, to acknowledge the reality. Yes, you cannot do anything really. Western ruling class have to realize that they lost. They lost. World has changed, by the way, and will never be the same as it was a few decades ago when Western so-called elites were seeing themselves as a sort of gods because they were all powerful, they were influencing almost every country in this world and pressuring everyone everywhere. Those times are gone forever, and will never come back. And more Western ruling class will continue this hostility towards Russia, towards emerging multipolar world. More and more isolated Western world will become from rest of the world. That's what's going to happen. And it is already happening, by the way. It is already happening. Meanwhile, well, Peskov, by the way, press spokesman of the Russian president, obviously commented on recent statements of Trump, and in a very calm, diplomatic manner, Peskov said, as Russian politicians usually do, because it's not a part of Russian political culture to act a gangster. If any high-ranking official here will start acting like if he or she is a gangster, then that's it. Political career is finished. You have to be strong, but you don't have to act as if you are strong, right? You have to always be cultural. You have to always act decently. You know, you have to demonstrate some nobility. And acting tough and gangster, it's not what true elites do, man. I mean, if you are true elite, natural elite, then you don't act that way. You don't need to. I mean, you don't even, you would not even think about acting tough, right? But yet again, different countries, different political culture. I mean, in US, it is okay, seems like, when president is acting as if he's a gangster. They love gangster movies there and that kind of stuff. And, you know, seems like people appreciate this acting of Trump. But in the rest of the world, that acting have been seen little differently. Anyways, Peskov in very calm diplomatic manner said that, you know what, Russia is open. Same stuff, by the way, as previously. Russia is open for negotiation on a basis of bilateral respect. And obviously for Russia, it is absolutely important to, root causes of the crisis to be addressed, to make sure that conflict will not reignite sometime in the future. That's it. No strong statements from Russian leadership, by the way, on this all threats and all this behavior of Trump, by the way. No, calm, chill response. You know what? We are open for negotiations. If you want it, okay. If you don't, then also who cares, man? That's it. We are winning, for God's sake, man. Right? Let's continue. And Defense Ministry of Russian Federation, meanwhile, is reporting that settlement of Salone in the DPR were liberated by Russian forces, and also not just the settlement of Salone, which is here, by the way. This is a settlement of Salone on the southern western side of Pokrovsk, but Russian troops also established control over their Novovasilievka settlement, and they're further improving their positions. But also, obviously, one of the main hotspots, if not the main hotspot at this point on battlefield, is Velika Novoselka settlement, and reports are coming in that Russian troops actually cut in half garrison of the Kiev regime, and one part of this Kiev regime's garrison in the southern part of the city is completely encircled now. And the Russian side actually issued an ultimatum to garrison there to surrender and save their lives, or battle will not end well for them. And I guess significant number, and I hope really significant number of most likely forcefully mobilized personnel of Kiev regime's forces in Novoselka Velika Novoselka will make right decision, will lay down arms and surrender. In any ways, it seems like it's a matter of couple of days and clearing operation will be finished, and most likely before end of next week, Russian Defense Ministry will report about complete liberation of the Velika Novoselka settlement. Also, dear friends, we have this report that according to foreign policy, NATO is working on two potential proposals for security guarantees for the Kiev regime for the so-called Ukraine. And foreign policy, as you know, is quite influential according to some experts. Media outlet in US, and well informed, and well, according to foreign policy, you know what? Let's translate, by the way, and go through some more details here. So NATO countries want to offer Ukraine two options for so-called security guarantees in exchange for a peace deal with Russia. This was reported to their American magazine Foreign Policy by the high-ranking Western official. According to this source, the first option is that the countries of their alliance will promise for many years after their ceasefire deal to provide significant military and economic assistance to Ukraine. In accordance with this plan, Kiev maybe someday will be allowed to join NATO. So that's one option. Delay in Ukraine's accession to NATO. And the second option of the security guarantees implies the extension of the Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty to Ukrainian territory, which contains the provision that an attack on one NATO member is considered an attack on all. In this case, the newspaper notes the West will take Ukraine under its nuclear umbrella, and Europe and United States and Canada will be obligated to protect Ukraine. So, by the way, there is not much difference really between these two options, and none of it can be acceptable for Russia, right? So it's a dead end. Once again, this Western so-called elites, Western ruling class is playing around these unrealistic topics, dancing around these unrealistic topics of freezing of the conflict, delaying Ukraine's accession to NATO, deployment of NATO troops as a so-called peacekeepers. I mean, this is all non-starters, by the way, and I'm quite sure Western ruling elites are coming up with these nonsensical ideas intentionally. They know this is not acceptable for Russia, but they are pushing these ideas time after time after time to say when Moscow will finally tell them to F off, to say that, you know what, we try, so now we have to escalate on the next level. And okay, bring it on, man. We are here, right? That's all I can say. I'm telling you, man, until Russia will smash freaking faces of the Western ruling class, they're not gonna act adequately, by the way. They're not gonna come to their senses. It's just not possible. Only way you can force Western ruling class, Western so-called elites to act adequately is if you are forcing them to do so. They only understand the language of force. That's about it. And mark my words, dear friends, couple of days, maybe couple of weeks from now, and literally any future act of war from NATO member states against us, against Russia, that being long-range drone strikes or missile strikes or anything else, can trigger and will trigger true retaliatory response from Russia. And I really don't think Western so-called elites, Western political class, or the Western societies, majority of which is due to this Russophobic propaganda in the West, is extremely anti-Russian. I don't think they are ready for that Russian response. I don't think they are ready for what is about to come. You know, they want, it seems like, but they have no idea what they are asking for. You know, they have no idea what they are hoping for or asking for. I mean, and they will find out soon. They will find out soon. I guess for Moscow it was important to delay this response, retaliatory strikes, true retaliatory strikes, until Trump's administration is in office, so that entire world will see that, you know what, Moscow did really try, but now it is a Trump in office, and it's all the same from the West, right? Threats, further escalation, nothing to de-escalate, nothing of positiveness. So therefore, you know, Moscow don't really has any options here but to take real action, and Moscow will. I mean, Trump may only have like a couple of days to ask some really informed people, if he has any independence, by the way. After all, he is a president of US, right? And if he has any independence from deep state or from Western ruling class or whatever, if he can act independently, I hope he will contact experts in US, independent experts, and they are many, right? He knows personally some of them. So I hope he will talk to those people, receives their information about objective reality, and realizes that if he continues or if West continues further escalation with Russia, that's not gonna end well for the West. They might deal some damage to us, as they already do, right? But we are going to win anyways, right? And best decision for US, for the West, will be to de-escalate. Before this proxy war that West is waging against us reached a level of no return. And it will reach that level in just a couple of weeks max. Just wait and see, man. That's what is going on. And I don't know. I hope some miracle will happen and the Western ruling class will start de-escalating now. Otherwise, they're gonna, what Trump was threatening us that we're gonna find out hard way, isn't it? So you know what? It's you that's gonna find out hard way, not us. All we know is hardship, by the way. Right? All we know, my people, is a hardship. And as one say goes, difficult times creating strong people creating easy times, and easy times are creating weak people. And weak people are creating difficult times, right? That is a sort of circle. And by the way, we went through quite a difficult times, by the way, in our lives, right? And hardship, as I'm saying, man, hardship is, you know what? Hardship is our life. You're not gonna threaten us with nothing. I mean, you just cannot threaten us with nothing, literally nothing. Even death will not threaten us. But you will find out hard way, because you have no idea what hardship is, right? And you are weak. And I'm talking to Western ruling elites, so-called elites, by the way. Western ruling class. They are weak. And it's that easy, man, to crush them all, They should be grateful to Russian president that they are still existing. Because if someone like me was a Russian president, then, oh, wow. Then there would be no Western ruling class for now. They will just not exist. That's what will happen. So they should be grateful that it is a Putin, Russian president, that allows these Western so-called elites and Western ruling class to exist. Because I would not allow that to happen. I will take care of them in the very first day. Because I think they are existential threat to humanity. I really think Western ruling class, Western ruling elites are existential threat to everybody, all of humanity. And because I believe in that with whole heart, I would do whatever it takes to neutralize that force, right? For sake of humanity. So they should pray, by the way, those Western so-called elites should pray that Putin stays in power as long as possible, because one day he will retire and someone like me might take office, and holy moly, man. At that point, Western ruling elites should start counting days of their last days of their shitty life. I hate them, man. I really want Western ruling class to be exterminated. I really think they are existential threat to humanity. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that, sorry, dear friends, for little philosophical discussion here, but you want true reactions from Russians, right? So, Russian citizens, so there we go. And I promise you, isn't it, from very beginning that I'm not gonna act, by the way. I'm not an actor, I'm not acting, I'm real, always, right? So RIA Novosti is reporting that according to Politico, France and the UK are working now on a draft to deploy their troops into Ukraine. Okay, if and when, according to Politico, ceasefire or conflict will be freeze, ceasefire will achieved or conflict will be freezed, it's not happening. It's just not happening. Western ruling class or Western or NATO member states will end up eventually, once Ukraine will undergo full-scale disintegration, in charge of Western Ukraine, because we don't care about that part of the former Soviet Union. Majority of us, at least, don't really care about that part. But rest is historical Russian territory, and there will be no NATO troops there. Ever. It's just not happening. So French and British military and political so-called elites can continue dreaming about some nonsensical stuff. And RT is reporting that Trump, according to Italian media, Trump is planning to pull out some 20,000 US troops from Europe. US President Donald Trump is considering reducing his country's military contingent in Europe by 20% as he reviews Washington's commitment to the continent. Italian news agency ANSA has reported, citing EU diplomatic sources. If their pullout occurs, the number of US service personnel in Europe will decrease from around 100,000 to 80,000, the agency reported on Wednesday. Well, interesting. I don't think there will be US military withdrawal from Europe, but I mean, 20,000 more, 20,000 less. I mean, US might save some money by withdrawing some troops, a couple of billions, but in terms of military might, what 100,000 US troops cannot do, man, or 200,000 troops if full-scale war will be provoked by Western ruling class against Russia. You know, any full-scale conflict between Russia and NATO gonna go nuclear almost straight away, right? And ground forces not really gonna play much of a role in that case, because nukes will do the job. Nukes will obliterate humanity, because full-scale nuclear war between Russia and NATO means end of humanity, end of everything, right? But yes, Italian media is reporting that some 20,000 US troops may be withdrawn. And dear friends, it's already 42 minutes. I'm kind of, I ran out of time. I have quite a lot of news, by the way, left. You know what? I will go through headlines at least. Although before, let me notice, dear friends, that this media project, this independent media project from Russia, is completely subscriber funded. And if you like my work, if you think me and my channels deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work and this project with donations through Boosty platform. By the way, you can see Boosty platform right now. That's a Boosty. You can use Boosty platform to subscribe to my channel for monthly support, or you can use simultaneously you can use Boosty platform as to send donation. It allows to send donation, to send a tip, to subscribe. It's a mix of Patreon and Buy Me Coffee, basically. That's what it is, and it is quite easy to operate, really. When you want to log in, you will platform automatically will show you platforms, social platforms that are relevant in your area. It shows me, for example, now several Russian social platforms: ВКонтакте, Одноклассники, Mail.ru, Mail service, And it also shows Twitch and Google and YouTube. Somewhat similar will be in your area. You will just use any of their accounts, current accounts that you have, or you can create new account, especially for Boosty, for example. You can use then that account to log in, and then you are free to operate. You can subscribe, you can choose your level of subscription, you can donate and watch their videos, by the way. Extra content that I have on the platform, a lot of it. And yes, you can also subscribe. You can also subscribe to my Patreon page. Also, obviously, links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And also, I have crypto wallet. If you are good with your crypto, you can support this project with your cryptocurrencies also. Okay, enough advertising of this project. Thank you very much to everybody who supported and who continues to support my work in this and my channels, this project. Yesterday, our Patreon community received one new member. Our Boosty community received one new member, and I had 2 donations on Boosty that made not just my day yesterday, but actually I will say whole week, even last several weeks. I was extremely happy, and I'm truly grateful to unknown persons that supported. Thank you very much, and of course many thanks to everybody that supported and continues to support my work in this project. Truly grateful, dear friends. Thanks to you, I'm able to be in this field, so thank you. And there are more news, few more news, dear friends. According to TASS news agency, Hamas will release today names of their hostages that they are planning to free tomorrow. This is pre-planned. This already was. These steps was already was. In a part of first phase of this peace agreement that was reached between Hamas and Israel, and most likely Israel on its part will also release dozens or potentially maybe even hundreds of Palestinians that are held in Israeli prisons. RT is reporting that Panama basically complained in UN on US because of Trump's threats to seize the Panama Channel. I don't think UN can help Panama in any way, shape, or form. But what Panama can do, by the way, what else Panama can do? I don't know. I don't know, man. And well, TASS news agency is also reporting that U.S. Secretary of the State is planning to visit Panama next week. And probably he will try to force local government to come up with ideas how they're gonna transfer control over the Panama Channel to US. How it's gonna be easy way or hard way, as Trump loves to say. So U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio plans to travel to Panama next week, following President Donald Trump's statements that the United States will seek gaining control of their Panama Channel. Bloomberg said, citing sources. According to the source, the trip is to underscore President Donald Trump's seriousness about taking back the Panama Channel. Apart from Panama, Rubio is expected to visit Guatemala, Dominican Republic, and Costa Rica, also El Salvador. Okay, poor Panama, man. You know, if Western ruling class is serious about taking back, about giving Panama Channel to US, main enforcer that they have, then I don't think Panama has any chances to defend itself, right, and its national interests. Panama, US, no chances there. That's it is unfortunate, but that's the world that we are living, by the way. This is not an utopia, some sort of, isn't it? This is the real world. Das news agency, meanwhile, is reporting that according to Foreign Minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjártó, Hungary is ready to help Slovakia with the gas supplies and to provide Slovakia actually with the Russian natural gas that Hungary itself receives from Turk Stream that recently was attacked, I'm quite sure, on the orders of Washington and London by Kyiv regime with the drones, right? But gas pipeline, this Turk Stream pipeline, is still operational, and Hungary is offering help to Slovakia that their infrastructure, gas infrastructure, is well capable of helping Slovakia, and probably agreement will be reached between the sides so that Russian gas will flow through this North Turk Stream pipeline first to Hungary through Turkey and other European countries, and then to Slovakia. And RT, by the way, is also reporting that CNN is to lay off hundreds of its personnel. CNN is planning to basically hundreds of its 3,500 workforce as soon as first day. So they already did, I guess. People familiar with the matter have told the rival US network CNBC. Well, I would not say that CNBC and the CNN are rivals, or they are all the same, right? Neoliberal propaganda outlets of the globalists. And well, good news, by the way, I will say, because less propaganda is always better, right? So, and also good news because alternative media is clearly on its rise, and there is more and more occasions when alternative, really independent media is actually defeating false narratives that this MSM is pushing, right? Mainstream media in the West are pushing, which is totally controlled and totally false, right? It's a total propaganda there. And I guess they will continue to lose. Unfortunately, obviously, I mean, these are giants, isn't it? CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, BBC, Deutsche Welle, France Press, all these channels, by the way, TV channels also in a press. There are plenty of media outlets that used to have a good name, but no anymore. And unfortunately, majority of the society in the West are still influenced by this propaganda networks, but rise of alternative media, rise of independent media, hopefully will wake them up one day, you know. And by the way, those people that will wake up, well, they're gonna be horrified, isn't it, when they will find out truth, when they will realize that they've been lied for years and years on end. They had no idea what was really happening. It's gonna be quite shocking and even painful for many, because they are so delusional now that it's even difficult to talk to them, isn't it, to explain everything, because they are unable to understand objective reality. They are in this false world that have been created by these propaganda outlets. But anyways, I have to end this update on that. Hopefully you will find this video interesting, informative, useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary. It is quite a time since we last time managed to influence algorithm, especially on YouTube. So maybe we will manage to do so today. So if you can, please click that like button and leave some commentary. If you can, also share information about my channel with your friends that might have interest in news in general and in news from Russia or in Russian point of view, how we see some things. Yes, finally, if you like my work, if you want to support, you can do it, dear friends. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. Once again, have a wonderful day, great upcoming weekend, and take care. Bye for now.